Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, to episode 342 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly gaming podcast for Words About Games. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Daffod Moody. So that bottle looked like a vodka bottle, I'm not going to lie.
I can confirm or not confirm that it's vodka.
Yeah, I was like... Yeah. Now I'm coughing. Say things, Moody.
Say things. Things. Words. Hello, everybody. It is Friday. You know what that means. It's video game day. This sounds like every day is video game day, but this is video game news day that we get to talk about the industry, and not get annoyed by the industry, laugh at the industry, praise the industry, hopefully, who knows? But what we will not do, we won't cancel anybody, okay? We don't want to do this. It's a myth. Get over yourselves, people, okay? Good day.
Good day to you.
Now I'm off.
Yeah. Oh. Guess it's just me then. Lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see you too, Amy.
I'm glad you could make it, because you couldn't at one point.
Well, the missus gave me the go-ahead. She says I can. It's her birthday today, technically.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Now I feel
And she
bad.
says, do it. Because she's down in the pub, and I'm just like, I'm not a pub person. I will be miserable. I've had one pint. I said, yo, you'll get a pint out of me, that's it. And I've had one pint, and now I've come upstairs. And everything like that. I'm just not a pub person. I don't like it and everything like that. And she says, it's all good. I've got my mother here. It's all good. And I'm like, okay then.
I guess I don't drink. When I used to drink, I used to be a pub person, not a club person or a bar person.
Yeah.
But like, even when you go to a pub, it's like we're having a conversation in a loud and noisy environment when we could just have a conversation somewhere where we can actually hear you.
Exactly.
The only difference is there's a jukebox, but I have YouTube music.
Exactly.
There's a pool table. I have a Switch.
Exactly.
There are nuts.
Xbox.
I can buy nuts. I can have all of the conveniences of a pub, or better, but in a nice cozy environment.
Exactly. That's just how the Force works.
That's how I feel about it. But I wouldn't say no to going out.
I would.
Depends who's asking.
My team, my work team are going out tomorrow. The episode just technically launches, and I'm just like, they're going out on a night out. I'm just like, good, fucking snowing. You fucking idiots.
At least you
I love
getting
you
it.
all, but Jesus.
I think God knows how much I like snow, and has decided to make it snow everywhere except where I am.
It's not snowing for you.
Nah. So like we've had like a pathetic amount of snow like twice in the last few days.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of a dusting. That's mostly gone. Like within a couple hours in the morning, and it's just like, this isn't fair. People are posting on Twitter and stuff, and they're like, "Look at all the snow," and I'm just like, fucking.
Yeah. My partner's mother's loving it. She's like, snow, I've never seen snow. And then she's like, oh, it's cold. I was like, yes, it's snow, it's cold, it's also deadly.
So it's how vodka you're drinking.
That's how I used to do it.
I'm not going to tell you how I used to do things. In excess.
Whoa.
I could tell you some stories, sort of. Memory's a bit hazy.
You can remember.
Memory's a bit hazy. When I used to go out in uni, we used to take we used to take the camera, and it was a film camera because, I'm from the age of the dinosaurs, and we didn't even have digital cameras. So like there was that moment of you take the camera with you, and it's got so many shots on it. And then you go out, you get absolutely destroyed. You wake up wherever you end up waking up. And then you take the roll of film in to get developed the next day.
Just trying to remember what happened.
And then, it's like the detective scene, you know, you put the board up and you get the string out and you put pins in stuff. And then it's like, like the only thing you get is these photos are in chronological order. So at least I know like the timeline of like what's going on. And it's like you're looking at the photos going, Whoa. Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Don't miss it either. I do not.
Yeah, maybe does that make me boring? No, it doesn't. Have I got a lot of really funny stories? Yeah, I do, and I enjoy telling them. But they cost me.
They did.
Yeah. This must be what growing up feels like.
Yep, apparently.
So I've heard.
What is growing up?
I still don't even know what I be when I want to be when I grow up.
Yes, you hit a certain age. I'm now ready
To retire.
I'm going to be an astronaut.
I'm going to be an astronaut. Oh man, so how's your week been?
All right, for the most part. Like, I met my future mother-in-law for the first time ever. That
Cool.
was interesting.
Interesting word usage there.
Well, she doesn't know an ounce of English, so the conversations are very interesting.
Okay. How much Portuguese do you know?
Tá bem, beijo. That's it.
Okay, cool. I have no idea what you just said.
Tá bem. I can't remember what tá bem means. But beijo is kisses.
Oh God, I'm gonna put I'll put this podcast out and it'll be like, why has it been deleted? Why do I have a strike? What did you say?
You should have beeped it, maybe.
Maybe I will.
Just put it out. To be on the safe side, because I don't know what he said there. I'm beeping him. Because I don't want to get striked.
I'm in good standing. I've never been striked. I've never had a non-copyright strike in my life. I've never had a copyright strike. I've just been content ID'd a bunch. As have we all.
As have we all. As have we all. It's the way. It's the YouTube way.
YouTube, eh?
YouTube.
Ooh. What t-shirt are you wearing? I don't recognize it.
Something New York.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, is it? Brooklyn. Okay.
New York City.
New York City.
Is that the vodka you mixed with the lemonade? No comment.
It's been a long week, Amy.
Oh God!
I deserve this.
Hey, no judgments here. It has been a long week. It's felt long. They've all felt long.
It has recently. A little bit,
yeah.
Yeah, it has a little bit. Last week felt really long. And this week's just feeling not as long, but still feels like, are we there yet?
You seem to be a lot more energetic this week.
Yeah, I've got more energy than last week. Last week I was knackered. I was like, I could have passed out any moment, and who knows?
You didn't, I know.
I didn't. That's why I stood up for the last half. But I need to stay up here.
You're like,
come on, Moody.
That's what you did.
It.
That's what you did at the midpoint. And just splash some water on your face. Dunk your head in an ice bucket.
Then do the slow motion.
Baywatch style. God. I remember everybody like Baywatch was a thing. Like
it really was.
It was a thing on like
and
TV.
All it was just who's just an orgy.
Pamela Anderson and David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, whatever you think of the man now, he was a good-looking man in those days. And Pamela Anderson, well, she's Pamela bloody goddamn Anderson. So
I mean, yeah, you just ran around in swimsuits in slow
yes,
motion
they did.
everywhere.
Yes, they did.
It was such a cultural. In fact, it was such a Baywatch was such a cultural touchstone. Didn't Friends do an entire like subplot of an episode about it? Just Baywatch.
Yeah, it was basically that Joey obviously moved in with Chandler, and then obviously he just throws on Baywatch because he's like, "What?" And then Chandler's about to walk out and say, "What are you watching?" Baywatch, and then he just sees and all the women running, railing like that. He's like, "Oh my god, this is TV! Wait." Are we allowed to watch this? Yeah, it's on. It's like normal TV and everything. What? And he just skips work and jumps and joins them and watches it. And it's just their thing.
Yeah,
it's just how it was.
Remember that. Hey, everybody's got to have a thing, right?
Everyone's got a thing.
Everyone's got a thing.
Yep, they got a thing that they like, so it's all good. How are you enjoying your Deep Space Nine marathon?
I slowed down a little bit.
Slowed down? You slowed down when it starts getting good?
I mean, I guess
That's not how the Force works, Amy.
I have seen that like a lot. Like the season 4 onwards, I've seen like a lot more than seasons 1 through 3.
Yeah.
And I said slowed down, not stopped. Like I can't remember. Was it you? I was
How many
talking to
times
you
did
about
we rewatch Picard?
No comment. So I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but like I've let my watch later queue on Netflix on YouTube build up. So I've been like picking off some videos on there this week.
That's how it has to be.
Oh yeah, I've watched some very interesting videos. One video was about, and halfway through is about the diversity of rings of power.
Interesting.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Like, that's how I decide what YouTube rabbit holes to fall down. Because like this is how I get into a YouTube. Like I'll find one, like I'll just watch what I watch and I'll be like, oh, that sounds interesting. Oh, this sounds interesting. Like it's like how I found Jessie Gender. Because of all the videos I watched, and then I got recommended her first sex in Star Trek video, and I was like, that sounds interesting. It's 5 hours long, but it still sounds interesting, and I clicked it.
She's an amazing YouTuber. I'll never take her anything for her, but good God.
But I watched it.
Awesome freaking things, long videos are just like...
But they're good, though.
It's like me climbing up Mount Mordor.
Then obviously I watched it, and then I was like, I really enjoyed it. So like I went through
her timeline,
her like upload of videos, and just started like picking. At first, it was like I'll pick out the ones that sound like really interesting, and then eventually you just watch them all, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what I've done here. It's a YouTuber. I've just started watching the like 2 days ago, so I can't remember his name yet. But yeah, it's there's a video popped up in my feed, so I was like, I'll watch it, and I watched it, and it was really good. And then I watched another one that of his that sounded really interesting about Stranger Things and nostalgia. And then I just kept going.
You went down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, these are the kinds of YouTube. I don't know how I have somehow broken YouTube's recommendation algorithm to the point where it knows not to recommend right-wing idiots to me, which I know isn't a universal YouTube experience.
Can I have your YouTube?
Yeah, sure.
Please. Like, I'm sick of it. Like, just because I've looked at one like thing of like obviously like going into the thing what we've talked about and everything like that. I've looked in like the certain things of that have happened to a certain YouTuber. Won't name them, but you know who I mean, and everything like that. And because I've checked into that, I get other fucking stupid videos about that content, and I'm like, no, just because I wanted to check one thing out does not mean I want to check out a whole slew of idiots.
No, I don't need the screaming man baby brigade.
Yeah,
leave me. No, I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, the more channels I have don't recommend me multiple times by the way, YouTube.
Yeah.
Just give me a block button. Just let me block them.
I
don't need to see these things.
It might have something to do with the fact that, so like, as a as a YouTuber, as somebody who like uploads and has a channel, like I have multiple accounts under the same thing. So
Who
like
you have?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's all under one. It's like under my like account has like multiple different YouTubes.
Yeah.
So I've got the Words About Games account and I've got my personal account. My personal account is the one I use to subscribe to YouTubers. It's the one I use to watch. I've got a music account because I found out when you subscribe to artists or like when you like add artists to your library, it subscribes to their YouTube channels. And I was like, I need to keep my watching and my listening separate. So I did that. And then obviously I've got like Words About Games. And so when I'm watching stuff for this podcast, for researching the videos that I'm making, which, oftentimes can take me to darker areas of YouTube. Yeah. Like when we were doing our research for the Last of Us Part 2 controversy when the spoilers leaked. I didn't watch any of that on my main account. I imagine if I went on the Words About Games like feed where it was like, here's the videos we recommend to you, that it's probably in ruins. Like it's probably absolutely atrocious if I went through it because of the shit that I watch on this channel for research.
Yeah, that is true.
That's what maybe that's what you need to do. You just need to like separate like Daffod Moody and what Daffod Moody likes to watch to Daffod Moody doing research or is interested in like learning about some ridiculous thing that's happening on the internet. Just split them off.
I don't know if I have the patience to do that, but I'll have a think about it. I'll have a think about it.
And hey, maybe I'm just somehow just beating the algorithm.
You beat the algorithm.
Yeah,
it's because you dress like Steph now, Amy. You dress like the awesome Steph.
I don't wear a beanie,
and you don't need to wear a beanie.
Good, I don't like them. They're itchy.
I used to wear them years ago when I was younger, and I liked them. Then I lost them, and then
there's one over there.
Okay.
A PlayStation beanie I got from PlayStation. You do collect some stuff. I do collect some stuff like.
That's cool. That's true. I need to sit down.
I figured that was coming.
I just feel like I'm feeling so twitchy. I'm thinking, sit down before you fall down. So eventually I'll just be like,
just back. Moody.
Something like that.
Right, you do your thing.
You do your thing, and I will.
I'll set up the main topic of the episode, which isn't YouTube algorithms. The main topic of the episode is something that has been come up in discourse this past week, which has actually been really interesting. So I'm going to read a news story, and then I'm going to bring Moody back into the podcast. Hopefully, he'll be more than just the top of his head. But the main topic this week, I'm not looking. It's Final Fantasy 16 producer Yoshida sparks debate over use of JRPG term. This is Red Nightingale over at Eurogamer. He writes, Final Fantasy 16 producer Naoki Yoshida has criticized the term JRPG, sparking debate among players online. In an interview with SkillUp following previews of the game, Yoshida was asked about how JRPGs have advanced in comparison to action games. According to the interviewer, Yoshida was visibly uncomfortable with the phrase. So most of the quotes that are from Yoshida come from the translator who was there with him. So, quote, one thing Yoshida wants to get across is that when we create games, we don't go into them thinking we are creating JRPGs, we are just creating RPGs. The term JRPG is used by Western media rather than users and media in Japan, end quote. Yoshida went on to explain that for many Japanese developers, the term was considered discriminatory when it first appeared 15 years ago. Quote, this is going to depend on who you ask, but there was a time when this term first appeared 15 years ago, and for us as developers, the first time we heard it, it was like a discriminatory term, as though we were being made fun of for creating these games. And so for some developers, the term JRPG can be something that will maybe trigger bad feelings because of what it was in the past. It wasn't a compliment to a lot of developers in Japan. We understand that recently JRPG has better connotations and it's being used as a positive, but we still remember the time when it was used as a negative. I remember seeing something 15 years ago, which was basically a definition of what a JRPG was versus a Western RPG, and it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII, and it has this type of graphics, this length of story, and compartmentalizing what we were creating into a JRPG box and taking offense to that, because that's not how we're going into creating. We were going into create an RPG, but to be compartmentalized they felt was discriminatory, end quote. Yoshida's response also adds context to the discussion to choose real-time combat instead of turn-based, as he discussed the perception of JRPG combat. Quote, traveling around the world speaking with fans and media about their image of the franchise, Final Fantasy, they would always give the same answer, that it's turn-based, that it's anime-like, these teenagers saving the world, very JRPG. That was the image for all Final Fantasy. This was turning off some players because they thought it could only be that, and that was a reason to not get into it, end quote. Yoshida's comments have sparked a debate among players online as to the use of the term JRPG. So there's like a bunch of stuff to unpack here.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. This is a very important thing to talk about. That is absolutely, let's just be frank here, completely spot on. He's absolutely completely spot on. And I'll say this right now. I didn't even think about it. And I know I've said JRPG before. I have. Yeah, it's like, but I've never thought of it as I'm being discriminated or anything like that. And that's something I need to look at myself and everything like that. I need to learn and whatnot for that. And but to them, it's literally like, we're creating a video game. We're creating an RPG and everything. And it's like, there's no doubt about it. I don't see discourses online anymore, so I can only imagine how it's been.
Interesting,
to it.
Weird. It's been weirdly different from other discourses of the year.
What a surprise!
It's been more nuanced to start.
Okay.
Or maybe Hogwarts Legacy just finally allowed me to cleanse my timeline completely.
And you just don't see the shit.
And now I just don't see
anymore.
I just don't see the idiots unless I go looking for them.
Yeah.
But no, like, this was fascinating to me when I'm going to be honest, when I first heard about Yoshida said a thing, and you might flash back to some podcasts that we've done in the last few months of the last few times Yoshida said a thing, and I kind of just ignored it because I was like, I'm not doing this right now. I can't. I haven't got it. I'm got it in me. And then when I saw what the thing actually was, I was like, oh, it's this JRPG thing. That's really interesting. Because, like, I know you took an extended, like, sort of break from playing video games, like, around about the time when JRPG was sort of first started being used as a term. But I was right there. So, like, when I was thinking about it from my own perspective of my own, like, history of, like, playing video games and being like, like, it was. Like, JRPG was a negative term. Like when it first arose, because there was this weirdly, like at the time, like you don't think, like at the time, the critical thinking skills and like language and culture and society like evolves. At the time, I didn't really see it necessarily as xenophobic, but at the time there was a lot of anti-Japanese games discourse around, like in in the community and in the media. And it always irked me because I how many times have I talked about on this podcast how many fucking Japanese games that I love, right? So it always irked me because I just liked the games. Like if there was a good game and it came from Japan, okay, cool, then that's where it came from. But I never really thought about it through that lens until it's been brought up this week, and then thought, actually, yeah, like, I mean, some of the shit, like, and that has been dredged back up from those days. Like some of the stuff that, like, I shared a video of you, because there's some videos going around of G4 and X-Player and some of their reviews of Japanese games and how kind of racist they were. Like,
yeah.
And like that shit was just normal in like games coverage in those times.
Racism not normalized in games in news media in general. What a surprise!
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. But like, it's fascinating to like to have gone through it all and to like go but then to go back to it like 15 years later, give or take, and to like re-examine it and think actually the term itself and where it started from. Like, it started from a bad place.
Yeah, until I like saw what you shared and obviously saw the Steph Sterling video, it never came to my mind whatsoever. And like I said, that's on me and everything and whatnot, because it's like it goes in many different directions. Like to them, it is just like I said, it's an RPG. It's an RPG.
It's an RPG, right? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most insightful thoughts I've seen about this came from Steph Sterling's video of, like, we don't call Pokemon a JRPG.
We don't.
Even though,
We do not,
even
and
though
it's an RPG.
by definition, it's an RPG from Japan, so it is a JRPG. But because Pokemon is the one that people in the West,
the mold.
the Westerners like, they don't call it a JRPG. It's the same with Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Elden Ring. Like, they're RPGs, but we call them action RPGs in the West because we've got this weird specific mindset. And I think part of this is just comes down to the fact that, like, the games industry and the gaming community as a whole has, like, this obsession with, like, putting things in, like, labeling things and putting things in boxes. It's like, oh, this is an action RPG. It's like every year when we do the Game Awards nominees, and I keep complaining about the difference between an action game and an action adventure game. It's like, when we try to put those things in boxes, sometimes we make bad boxes.
No doubt about it. When it comes to like doing the subtext type of thing, like doing it is like there's no problem with it whatsoever if you're doing it right. Like JRPG, it's not right whatsoever. Doing it the way numpty Jeff Keighley does it, then just ignore him. How he does it with his bloody award show. But no, yeah, it really is. It's like like everyone knows, like I missed basically. I had a PS2, but I missed pretty much the giant preface of what was games in that game. Then in those times, for me it was Final Fantasy X, the SmackDown games for WWE when I was really into wrestling at the time. Another thing, and just a couple of other games, but it wasn't like the big games whatsoever. Then I missed out with pretty much most of the PS3, excuse me, and the Xbox 360, excuse me, era until like the back end, like 2011. I would say I would have started truly coming back, but didn't really fully come back until 2013. Like I've stated, when the PS4 was announced and the Xbox One was announced and everything. And like when everyone was like, I was like when I watched I remember watching the Xbox announcement, I was thinking, oh, that was really good. That look online, that was shit. It was terrible. I was like, well, okay. I'm just going to duck out the way here and just keep saying, oh, I liked it, even though they had stupid ideas. But I didn't understand a lot of the things of what they were talking about at the time because I was just coming back into it and like all online and everything like that. I didn't understand it whatsoever. Until I obviously properly researched it.
Yeah, sure.
So for me, like everyone knows, my favorite game, RPG, it's Final Fantasy IX. That's my favorite game of all time. It's the game I always go back to every say 2 to 3 years and whatnot. And for me, I always called it an RPG. I always just thought it's an RPG. That's what everyone calls them. It's a role-playing game. You're playing a role. You're enjoying it, doing all these things and everything. And that's how I always consider it. I won't lie. The term of phrase JRPG would have probably come from like one of the big sites that I've read, like one of the IGNs maybe, or GameSpot or something else and everything. And it's just, and I've just gone along with it, you know?
Sure.
And it's just one of those things. Like I'm just like, oh, it is the norm. Like,
yeah.
We're not being bigots or anything like that. We're just, it's a term of endearment for some weird reason.
It's like, where does anything come from? You know, like Metroidvania, Souls-like. It's like we create these words to describe certain things, and yeah, like JRPG, like again, like. It was always, in my mind, it was always such this like random hate of fucking of JRPGs at the time. Like I loved some JRPGs and I hated some other JRPGs, just like I loved and hated Japanese games, just like I loved and hated like Western games. And the term itself, like, it's like, because the J stands for Japan or Japanese role-playing games, I guess. But like the term itself is weird in that the actual like meaning of the term describes games being made in a certain country, but then, as Yoshida points out in the interview with Skill Up, when you ask someone to describe what a JRPG is, you describe a genre, right? It's like a subgenre of an RPG, right? Like Octopath Traveler 2, which I'm playing at the moment, is a game that I would have described like, yeah, that's a JRPG, you know? Turn-based, 2D, pixely sprites, all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like but like at the same time, there are games that aren't made in Japan that in my head I associate with JRPG just because of the game style, not because of where they came from. And like, it is weird, isn't it, to think like JRPG supposedly, like in the minds of everybody before we started thinking about it as a genre, like RPGs are so different. Like there are so many different types of RPGs, even coming out of game studios in Japan, and it's like, why did we like try to paint them all with the same brush?
Yeah, because they aren't. They're all different in so many unique different ways. Everyone tries to do something different, and in Japan and everything. So it's like
Bravely Default and Fire Emblem are two very different types of games.
Different, yeah, they're completely different games. They're just made in Japan. Doesn't mean you have to lower it down to JRPG. It's just one's an action RPG, one's a turn-based RPG type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's just how it is. That's how it should be from now often. And like I do hope that I will try my best to try and take the J out of RPG and to say that this is an amazing RPG.
Sure.
Go and play this. It's an action RPG. You'll have a lot of fun. Developed in Japan. Doesn't mean anything bad about that. It's just, it was developed in Japan and they've done an amazing job for this game. Go out and support this type of thing. That's what we should be doing type of thing. Not saying it's a JRPG, so you can either love it or you can either take it or not type of thing. It's not that. It's like the Japanese developers were released some of the best games in the 80s and 90s.
And 2000s and 2010s and 2020s.
It was a Japanese. It was the Japanese company that arguably saved the video game industry. Nintendo. We don't call them.
Mario with JRPG now.
yeah. We don't do that, do we? So it's like, come on, guys. It's like, I think it's just obviously a lot of other things that have happened that I won't bring up. Obviously, you know about the history of Japan and everything like that. But it doesn't mean like you can lower the standards for video game developers into that pool or anything like that.
Well, that's the thing. ARPG stands for Action RPG. It does not stand for American RPG. There is no ERPG for European RPG. Although there is like
don't call Mass Effect a CRPG.
No, we call it Western RPG or an action RPG. It's like, and it's like there's this obsession. Maybe we've taken this obsession with labeling everything just a smidge too far.
I mean, only other thing I can,
as somebody who was making an in-depth video about Mass Effect, about the Mass Effect trilogy, even Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 are so different from each other that like you could play, if you played Mass Effect 1 and then played Mass Effect 3, you could arguably catalog them under different genres of game. Like that's how different even those two games are from each other.
Yeah, definitely. Like the only term genre, like there shouldn't be any like term of the genre apart from like just like turn-based or something like that. But if you want to categorize it in something like there are Western RPGs and there are Eastern RPGs, why not just do that? But it still sounds wrong at the same time. It's just the RPGs. Because the location of where the game was developed just shouldn't
doesn't really matter.
Them. Yeah, it doesn't matter
unless you're making a game specifically. Like A Space for the Unbound, which I reviewed a couple of weeks ago, was made by an Indonesian game developer, and it's made steeped in Indonesian culture. So where that game was made and who it was made by is kind of important to the game itself. But you know, Fire Emblem could have been developed in fucking Brazil, and it wouldn't have made a difference. Like it would have, because obviously the culture of Japan. I guess I'm talking myself in a bit of a circle here, because the culture of Japan obviously like informed like how that game is and how it plays and how it was made and what it's about. But if that game was made in Brazil and it was still the same game, it's still just an RPG.
Yeah.
I think that's what's interesting about what these comments have sort of uncovered. That's not the right word, but sort of like that's sort of like prodded, which is, does it really matter? Like, unless it's important to the game specifically, does it really matter where the game was made? Is it a good game or not? Does it do the things that it set us out to do or not?
Where it's made, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it does, and it doesn't.
It does. No, it doesn't. It does, and it doesn't, because like we talked about a game company 2 weeks ago, who they might have affiliation with Russia and everything. We all know what's happening with Russia right now. So
it does in that kind of aspect, and like it does in terms of that cultural aspect that I mentioned about the space for the unbound. But I don't think it if you're just going to use the location that a game was developed to decide whether it was good or bad, or whether it fits into this genre that's not really a genre.
Yeah.
As everything, it's nuanced and complicated, and there's not like a definitive good thing and a definitive bad thing.
Yeah.
Because
it's spot on. Like, and I think we all should. Like, I know you've told me that one of the big podcasters out there, they've said they are going to try and do better and not use the term anymore. You told me and everything, so that's good, and that's what we want to hear and everything. So that's how we develop, that's how we move forward, and hopefully this term can be completely eradicated from. You're still going to have the idiots who are going to say it and everything like that, but hell, just ignore those ones and everything, and just move on and go into the right direction. Like, Japanese RPGs are they do amazing games. Japan have done some of the best games out there of all time, and they should be loved for that. They should be absolutely applauded for that and loved for that, and they should not be stigmatized just because they're Japanese.
Yeah, like the old reviews and stuff that have surfaced of what some people have said and what some people have did in old reviews of Japanese games is just wild to me now. Like in Steph's video, they mention it, where it's like people like hated Lost Odyssey just because it was Japanese, and I was like, fuck, they did. And Lost Odyssey was like one of the best games on Xbox 360. I remember loving that game, and I remember being so into it because it was by a bunch of people who made Final Fantasies in the past, and it was such a good game. And I remember being perplexed by the fact that it wasn't like as loved as I felt like it should have been. And I just wonder how much of a knock-on effect it has, because so when I was creating my backlog for games to play on stream, because that's kind of been my thing until I took a Hogwarts related break. Like going through my backlog, obviously there's a lot of JRPGs, quote unquote, in my backlog, and I was going through and I was like trying to decide like, what do I want to play first? And you go through I don't know if you've ever been through the Metacritics of like JRPGs of like the 2000s and 2010s, but they're not highly scoring. and that like even when I was doing that in January, that was like colliding with but I've heard lots of people on Twitter who I follow or like talk like really highly about these games, but they don't have massive they don't have like the corresponding critical acclaim.
Yeah.
And now reading these comments, it's like suddenly like it's like I've got the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle where it's like, that's why. That's why that happened. Okay, I get it now. But for me, in terms of the term JRPG, I don't even know how useful a term it really is anymore, and I've just been using it out of habit. Like I'd call Octopath Traveler 2 a JRPG, but if I played Pokemon Scarlet, I wouldn't have called that a JRPG. And that's weird. Now that I've actually thought about it, that's weird. It definitely is something that was used very negatively in the past that isn't used negatively now. Or not not predominantly negatively.
Yeah,
At the moment now, and even Yoshida himself like points that out. But like the fact that it would definitely, I can see why it would definitely make Japanese game developers who have been in the industry for long enough really uncomfortable. Like I can see why that would be the case.
No doubt about it, especially when they had to come over and probably sell that game to a Western audience. They can only imagine what they were going to get told, and the amount of people, like amount of games media journalists and everything like that would have said, "So your JRPG, what's it about?" type of thing, just saying, like that type of thing. And they're probably just thinking they're just doing their jobs and everything, and they don't consider it a bigotry term and everything. But to them, to Japan, it's like I've stated, like to them, just create a video game.
Right.
An action game, a RPG game, a horror game type of thing. They don't want to be stigmatized, and like they don't deserve it.
Yeah, and I think like it was really eye opening to like read the comments about. I mean, and shit, I remember when this actually happened, and I know you've seen it because it was in Steph's video. With the panel that Phil Fish and Jonathan Blow were at. Where a Japanese game developer stood up and asked a question about Japanese games, and Phil Fish just was like, "Yeah, your games suck," and it's just like, "Fuck!" I remembered it. Like as soon as I saw him say it, like I had like one of those weird, like like in games where you have like the flashback of like all of your memories suddenly like coming back to me. I was like, "Oh damn, I remember this." Like, and I mean, to be fair, that was bullshit then. It's and obviously bullshit now. But
Phil Fish, where the fuck are you at now, mate? Type of thing. All you're doing is just living off your royalties of one game and one game only. So go fuck yourself. And again, same goes for the other. The same goes to actually the entire panel because they all laughed and they were joking and everything. So
right,
the whole panel were laughing about it and whatnot. They would say, "Oh, you're making him upset. You're making him cry." I was thinking, why are you being a dick?
Yeah.
Why are you being a dick? You may not like Japanese games, and that's fine. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Like, a lot of people don't like anime. They don't get, people don't just move on from that type of thing. It's like you guys just went out and just became dicks and became bullies and laughed and mocked and openly mocked him in front of his face when he was just asking a genuine question. And whatnot, and it's just like you were just assholes. You were just high on your own shit, basically.
I mean, yeah, because
they were successful games.
They were the stars of Indie Game, the movie, Moody.
yeah. I've watched both of those, and they're very good because it highlights indie games. But sadly, it also highlighted them being absolute twats and everything. How Phil acted throughout that entire whole thing was childish to the biggest degree, and it was pathetic. And and I know one of the developers who was there, I think it was the guy who said, "Oh, you're making him cry or upset or something like that." He's the guy who did Super Meat Boy, I think.
That was because that was.
And that game's an amazing game. I hope do not deny that. It's a great game, and everything. I had a lot of fun with it. I hope that you all look back at. Well, Phil won't have. Let's just admit this. I hope they've all looked back on and realised they were assholes and they should apologise. Really, we know two of them won't because they're too high and mighty, thinking that they're gods of developed video games.
I think they might actually believe that, but that's speculation. Maybe not fair speculation. The thing you mentioned there, and then I want to come back to something you just said. In more detail, but the thing you mentioned there about they should apologize. One of the people. So the reason I started seeing the old X-Play G4 reviews of Bait and Kaitos Origins was the one that I sent you, was because one of the people in that video decided to double and then triple down on the like, instead of apologizing, like you would go shit, yeah, my bad, Like, I'm sure if a video surfaced of me acting xenophobic towards an entire country of people surfaced from 2005 or 2010 or whenever it was, I'd go, shit, yeah, that is my bad. Because he didn't apologize, because it was... and he did the other thing instead. So, we'll see what happens there. The thing you just said there that I thought was interesting was, like, if you don't like Japanese games, that's fine. Is it, though? Because something you just said there just clicked in my brain of what we've just been talking about, of there's so many different types of Japanese games. Like, to write off an entire country's output of video games. Is that fair? Like, I don't like indie games. Is that really fair? Because, like, what is an indie game? It's everything. Like, at this point, we've had just about every type of game being made independently. Like, Japanese games are visual novels. They're role-playing games of all sorts of different varieties. We've had Japanese action games, Japanese shooters, Japanese horror games. And maybe that, well, I just don't like Japanese games. Maybe there's something subconscious there that you might want to take a look at.
No, I think you're spot on there, actually. I should have worded it a lot better than I did.
No, you worded it perfectly to just like trigger that thought in my head. Because I'm sure there are people who
don't like Japanese games. Yeah.
Don't like Japanese games, and I'm not calling you anything. I'm just asking you: is that, like, not you, Moody, but like the hypothetical person out there? Like, is that true? I guess, or do you just have a specific image of Japanese video games built up in your head that doesn't conform to reality? That would be like saying I don't like any American games.
True.
In exactly the same light, and we know because, and you know, there's so many different types of American games as well. Yeah,
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah, like basically how I said it, I put them all Japan into one thing there. When they like you said, they release many different type of genre games out there: RPGs, horror, action, the whole shebang, indie, everything. And no doubt about it. If you're like one of those people, like, then you maybe need to look in the mirror and ask yourself a couple of questions and everything. Because like I've stated, like both of us have stated, like Japan's arguably one of the best places to get video games from. There's some of the best and most talented developers out there.
It's certainly one of my favorite places to get games from.
Yeah. It's one of the big places I want to go one day. I would love just to go to Japan one day and hopefully be there and just see the sights and everything and just explore it and be completely out of my depth.
100%. 100%. I've played so many games that have been set in actual Japanese cities or like fictionalized versions of actual Japanese cities that I actually probably would get there and I'd feel like that sense of familiarity.
And then it would just go downhill bad since then.
Yeah, but then I'd be wandering the streets like watching out for like gangs of roving Yakuza thugs.
Ready for you to fight them.
Yeah, like you just pick a bicycle up and just start swinging around.
You played too much Yakuza.
I might have played too much Judgment.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me.
But yeah, no, like I'd love to go to Japan. I'd love to visit Tokyo. Like it's on the bucket list.
The whole there's a massive bucket list. Like I mean, part of always said like, so, if we could afford it, we would like go there for like a month and just go around cities, stay in different cities, explore for like a couple of days in each area.
Cool.
And just go there. I always have been, because I've always been fascinated by it as well, to go to Hiroshima. I've always wanted to go there. It's just very fascinating to me. To me for that, just to see that what happened, and there's still radiation there to this day, and yet it's a thriving city. It's amazing to think what it was turned into, and I absolutely would love to go there just to pay my respects as well.
So
and everything.
On that note,
we got off on that went on a different tangent there.
On that note, if anybody wants to sponsor Words About Games Does Japan, coffee.com/wordsaboutgames. Send me, Moody, and Sophia to Japan for a month. For a month. Yeah, we're going to do it properly.
For a month. We're doing it fucking properly, yeah.
We'll make
going when the sakura plants bloom for that one day or whatever it is. I think it's like a week, don't they last? Or whatever, something like that.
We will make some incredible content for you.
Hell fucking yes. Amount of Yu-Gi-Oh cards I would buy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Maybe we'd have a 6-hour unpacking video if you're just unpacking Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
And I'd be like, I don't know what this says, but the art looks amazing. Type of thing. I will ask this amazing translator to translate this for me. They may not know what this card is, but they're gonna they're amazing and they're gonna help me.
Awesome. So yeah, like I don't know, like I'm probably not going to be able to stop myself using JRPG for a while because it's just been one of those things that I mean, I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2 right now.
Yeah.
And I want to try and stop, like, for no other reason than if it makes a set of people uncomfortable, then I'll just stop using it. Like, Octopath Traveler is an amazing RPG, which I'll review either next week or the week after. It's also a really long RPG.
I can believe that.
Yeah,
I can believe that. I made the decision, so I posted mine back today.
Fair.
Because I'm like, I've still got Ishin to play. So my aim's like to do seasons, and then the game you reviewed a couple of weeks ago, play
Space for the Unbound.
Yeah, do that, and then move on to Yoshida.
Yeah,
and then I'm ready for Resi 4.
Yeah, that's where I'm trying to get to. It's like I want to be ready for Chia and Resident Evil because they come out in the same week.
Chia as well. Fuck Chia.
Yeah,
this is meant to be the quiet time, people.
But yeah,
because we let it build up. We've been too lazy, Amy. We should have stopped wallowing in self-pity. We should have been playing games.
Ow!
Both of us. Both of us. They'll spot you as well there on my computer.
Glad we don't do this and glad we're not doing this in person. Just
it was like
throw my fucking Switch gun.
And eventually it's just like
why does every episode end with them fighting? But yeah, no, I don't necessarily think the term JRPG is inherently bad. I think it was at one point. I think now it's kind of been reclaimed, but I can understand why it would make Japanese developers feel uncomfortable.
No doubt.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, it's time for Indie Game of the Week.
Time for Indie Game of the Week. This is the thing we do every week where Amy plays an indie game demo and comes and talks about how cool it is, and then you go and wishlist the game. Looking at you, audience. Especially you audio listeners. I'm really looking at you. Yeah. This week's Indie Game of the Week, Cognition Method, which is a story-driven first-person puzzle game inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey and Solaris. Discover the innovative mechanics of altering gravity and dive into the surreal setting, and find your way within a mysterious artifact and unveil a non-ordinary story. So, I played the demo of this. It's available on Steam. It's about 20 to 30 minutes long, depending on how stuck you get on puzzles. So it's a puzzle game for sure. Yeah.
So an hour for me.
Well, it's very gravity related. So
damn, 2 hours.
I've got one question to ask every developer of puzzle games. What is it with cubes? Like, what is it with putting cubes on switches? Because, like, if we're talking about the genre of puzzle games,
yeah,
most puzzle games seem to have this put a cube on a switch. And I'm not complaining. I just find it really interesting that that's what we've sort of settled on.
I'm not complaining, but I'm complaining.
No, I'm just curious. But like, it uses gravity in some really interesting ways. Like, there's a part where you have to, like, in the demo, where you have to get from the bottom to the top. There's like a statue reaching for like a doorway that's in the ceiling, and there's stairs everywhere. It's like you've just walked into an MC Escher painting. He's, the guy that painted all the stairways and pointing in all directions. Except you just
looking at it now.
Yeah, and you can just walk. You just walk, and like you've got to find your way like across the staircases, and you just walk on them. And like when you walked against the wall, which is the top of a staircase, gravity just shifts, and you start walking up those stairs. And then it's like, okay, where's the next set of stairs? It's proper trippy. It's very, very trippy. It was interesting. I didn't get to solve very many puzzles because the demo also existed to set up not necessarily the story, but maybe the atmosphere of the game. Because when I downloaded this puzzle game about gravity, I was like, cool, an interesting puzzle game about gravity. Wasn't expecting to find a horror game inside of it. Cognition method is also seems to be like it's going to be a horror game as well. Judging from the demo that I played.
Well, going from what it's inspired from, there's very kind of horror elements from that film to a certain point of like just what things happen and everything. So it's just like, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, there was a jump scare in the demo, which came completely out of nowhere for me, like in a good way, like. But it was earned. It's definitely a very spooky game. Like, the very first thing that happens in the demo is you're walking down a hallway and you can hear a piano, and then you get into this big, huge room, and there's this white piano in the middle of the room, and it's like you know those pianos you can get that play themselves.
Yes.
And the keys are going up and down. So it's like, oh, it's playing itself. And like I looked at the piano and I was like, oh, that's cool. You can see the keys moving. Like, that's really cool, because like I really appreciate very minute details in video games. And then I was like, I wonder if I can interact with it. And I started clicking on it, and it just went, boom. Like it just hit the low note, and it's like it was a bit spooky.
Awesome.
Moody, can you like you froze there like that? I was like,
yeah, because I thought I was seeing fireworks. I was thinking, shoot,
Moody can hear the piano right now. But yeah, it sets up like you look at it and go, ooh, that was a bit creepy, and then obviously like the creep factor, gets bigger.
That's really funny. That's really kind. That sounds really actually very interesting. I might have a. I don't think I'll have a look at demo, but I have just wish listed. So
yeah, no, it's the demo's a bit ropey, as demos can be of like games that aren't finished. It almost crashed on a loading screen, but the thing I always think about demos, and this is going back years from when I used to be like play demos at EGX and stuff, is like I forgive them being a bit rough or a bit buggy because they're demos.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, definitely, no doubt, because like they're not ready, they're not fully complete.
Exactly right. It's like just it's a bit unpolished. It's a bit choppy. Like the transitions when you like if you stand in like a gravity thing and it flips you to the ceiling, like the transition is a bit rough. When you flip around and stuff, but it's like I'm sure they're working on it. Like what I'm more interested in when I play a demo is the ideas in the demo and the mechanics and everything like that, and it's got my interest for sure.
Awesome.
Cognition method. There's a link in the description. Go check it out. Go wishlist it. It's coming TBA to PC via Steam. It's being developed and published by Team Cognition. All right, Moody. It's time to talk about everything else that's been going on around games this week. And you know what that means? I let Moody drive.
Hope it's better than Mercedes last weekend. Fucking hell. Let's start off with a showcase, Amy.
With a showcase? Microsoft confirms this year's Xbox Games Showcase, airing 11th of June. This is from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer, who writes, Microsoft has announced it'll be holding this year's Xbox Games Showcase on June 11th. That isn't, of course, particularly surprising news. Microsoft has long favoured the pre-E3 Sunday slot for its big announcement showcase, and it's one it's clinging onto even after reports it won't be participating in this year's E3. As for the specifics of its showcase, Microsoft isn't saying much right now, only that it'll run ahead of a special Starfield-focused Direct at some currently unspecified time. Starfield has also been announced to be coming out in September this year.
Well, we did what? Didn't we talk about it last week?
I did ask you a few weeks ago, yeah. Is it going to get delayed?
Starfield. Yeah, and yeah, it has been. Which isn't a surprise at the end of the day. I can't remember what I said when we spoke about it.
I think we both came down on, because we were talking about Redfall and Starfield. I think we both came down on Redfall hasn't and Starfield has. And that's what happened.
Okay, so, and now this tells me I'm just going to go right on a limb right here, right now. This tells me Microsoft's fall games are Starfield and Horizon. And
Horizon?
that's it. Forza Horizon. On the new Forza Motorsport. Yeah.
Horizon? I was like, did they buy Sony?
They bought Sony. Well, they could if they wanted to, but anyway. No.
Be one way to get the Activision Blizzard deal through.
Yeah, just shut Sony up and sack Jim Ryan. Yeah, that'll get out of the way. Yeah, now just shut up now. Let's continue what we're doing.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's that's how I see it. And so if they could go off the metric what they said they were going to do, what they did last year, and what they're going to do, and which they said they're probably going to do from now often, talking about the games that are coming for the next 12 months. Obviously, things could change. Obviously,
things will change.
Yeah, and everything. I don't think you're going to see that many exclusive games at this Microsoft thing.
I think you might see.
I think you'll see. I think you'll see Hellblade, because it's been a long time since we've seen that. Obviously, Motorsport. Obviously, doing the Starfield whole thing to themselves. And I'm going to go on a limb, and that's it.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? That, like, if Microsoft holds, which I'm going to assume at this point they're going to talking about games that are coming in the next 12 months. And then, you know, they'll have something. Like they had the Hideo Kojima thing at the last E3 that they did. There'll be something which is, like, the future. It's interesting that they've separated. Yeah, it's interesting that they separated Starfield out from their showcase. Like, are they anticipating having an extremely strong showcase? Because Starfield's obviously their biggest game.
Yeah,
biggest immediate game right now.
Yeah, at this moment in time, yeah. It could be a whole thing like a Bethesda thing saying, no, we want our own thing.
It may just be, yeah.
It could be. It really could be. So,
I don't think you'll get nothing. I don't think you'll get nothing from Starfield at the showcase. I think it'll be like
I think it'll still show something. Yeah,
a trailer though.
Just a recap.
It won't be like a 15-20 minute gameplay thing like we saw last time.
Yeah. That's just just to think this game was meant to come out 2 years ago, wasn't it?
No, it was just last year. 11,
yeah, it was just
22.
Yeah, 11, wasn't it? So we'll see what happens here. We're always excited to see what Microsoft bring and everything. The shows 9 times out of 10 are at least fun shows. Last one went around really fast. It was a really good show. It was smooth. It just kept on ticking. I know you had the babies online going, they've only shown 12 months. Shut up. They explained that why. And everything. And I'm excited to see what they're going to show and everything. I think it just shows they're slowly trying to get the house in order. Like we've got on many occasions that 3 of the studios at this moment in time that are doing exclusive for them, they're not doing so good right now. Obviously, they've had to bring Crystal Dynamics in for one of them, and the other 2 are just getting very poorly mismanaged right now. And they need to basically restart probably for both of those. So we'll see what happens. If it doesn't already, obviously we don't know what's the ins and outs of inside the studios and everything, but obviously we're only going off from the reputable sources that we've discussed. But no, yeah, like Microsoft, I think is going to be still Microsoft's like whole thing is push Game Pass to the sky. So I think you're going to see a lot of AA. I think you're going to see a lot of indie. I think you'll see a couple of AAA things. You might hear some announcements of like big games that haven't joined Game Pass yet, joining it.
Yeah, sure. It'll be a Game Pass showcase. It was last year, like everything you see is coming to Game Pass day and day, and it'll be the same for this year's showcase. I've got no doubt. That seems to be Microsoft's MO at this point. For what, like, I think there'll be a lot of a fair few exclusives. I just don't think there'll be a lot of Xbox games studios games being shown.
Yeah,
Forza and Starfield.
That's what I meant more. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Forza and Starfield would.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see Fable.
No.
Don't think you'll see State of Decay 3.
No.
I don't think you'll see Perfect Dark.
No.
Yeah. Maybe the next Gears. Not sure. I know they've been talking about it and everything, and like Collision have been talking lately. So we maybe hear something of that, but I don't think that game's anywhere close. I think it'll probably be still 2 years out, minimum. Like, I think it'll just say coming soon. And it'll just be a cinematic. It's coming Gears 6, guys. Yes, okay, shut up, stop complaining,
Yeah.
stop saying, where is it? Here it is. See you in 2 or 3 years. Type of thing. And yeah, that's what I think it's going to be. Gears could be their like one last thing type of thing. But who knows?
Potentially,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I think you'll see Avowed as well. Obsidian's RPG. Either that or Outer Worlds 2. One of the two.
It all really depends on which one's furthest ahead, I guess. They could show both of them, but they could put one down as coming soon and one maybe a release window, a year maybe. It could be the start. It could be one of their games could be the beginning of 2024 for them. Like that's how they start for like the first 3 months or 4 months, give or take. Just like Redfall is for them this year and everything. But yeah. Like Microsoft always do good shows. Hopefully it will be a fun show. Keep it snappy. Jeff Keighley, learn from this, please. For God's sakes.
Like, all right, as long as he insists on doing reaction streams to things, please, Jeff, please.
You're coming down here for God's sakes.
I know.
I'm going to be on my best behavior because I think if I'm not whiny, I think you'll hit me.
I've never hit you before.
That we know of.
Don't do that.
Dreams.
Don't do that. People will believe that. Don't do that.
That's true. It's true. She's cancelling me, people. She's cancelled me before. Don't cancel me again. It's a myth, you babies.
Please, I need Hollow Knight. Please.
It did that. Well, it wasn't the last one. They said that was the next 12 months. I can't do this. It's got to be close.
I can't do this any much longer. Microsoft, jeez. Why did you lie to me?
Well, the first 12 months haven't gone past yet.
I know.
We haven't had June yet. It could still happen. It might drop day in June. Well, and then I've lost you for the rest of the week. You're gone. You've already gone home. You packed your bags and you're running home.
Fucking. Oh, I can see it happen. I can see them doing that as well. Like a shadow drop of Hollow Knight Silk Song on the Game Pass and obviously all the other platforms at E3. And I swear to God, I'm going to hold it against you for the entire trip if Hollow Knight is like there and I can't play it because I'm at your house and I'll be like.
I will download it on my Xbox for you and you can smash it out. I'll say, she's over there somewhere playing. She sounds like she's enjoying it, people. It's all good. You've got me. Oh, you wanted Amy? Well, I'm sorry. They dropped Hollow Knight, okay? I can't do it again. If I go near her, I think she might bite me.
Probably.
Amy, that one. Drop, Moody.
Amy, the Tribeca game spotlight is on.
Just something throws at me. Picks up one of my
Bulbasaur.
Oh, why did you throw that one?
Giant Bulbasaur just comes out. Yeah, no,
move everything big away from you. Out of reach.
Because I'm obviously not going to throw the controller at you because I need that.
Yeah, you need that. This is another one next to you.
Yeah. But yeah, no. It's like there's not a lot I can really think of beyond those games. I don't think we'll see Hellblade this summer. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think it's coming in the next 12 months after June.
Yeah.
Just because of how little movement there's been on that game for years at this point. I think I might be wrong. We'll see what happens.
They have been very quiet, so hopefully that means it's that they've just been cracking on with the game and getting it sorted. Like, what has it been like? What? It's been a year or 2 years since we last saw it.
It was revealed in 2019. So 2020. So yeah, it's been like 2.5 years almost, I think, since the last trailer. Like 2.5 years, something like that.
Could it be that they're putting too much weight on acquisitions right now? That they're not giving enough attention to the other games? I mean, the management just making sure that, let's keep. But how's these games and everything like that? Do you need any extra help? Do you need extra money type of thing,
Maybe. I don't know. It depends on what Hellblade is, because like Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice was a very compact game, right? It was very like small and very specific. It depends what they've done. Like, but the team could have potentially bitten off more than they can chew. We've heard
Yeah,
that story
well,
dozens of times over.
many times. Yo, they face a Titan from Attack on Titan. I saw the last trailer. A giant thing came out and chased after
Right?
her.
And there was loads of people with her, like fighting it and stuff. It's
Maybe
like
they got sued by Attack on Titan's creators. Say, yo, no, just no, okay, no. I'm sick of these rip-offs. Stop it now.
sick of these motherfucking Titans.
Yeah.
But I'm interested and excited to see what we get out of Microsoft. I always love E3, even when they don't call it E3. It's always a favorite time of year.
Yeah, they're there. They're just they're just round the corner.
Yeah,
It's literally them. They're just people outside, literally flipping off. We could be there with you, but we're not. We're here.
Just looking down the street.
Hey, oh no one there. I'm sorry about that. They must be all in here.
Yeah.
I'll send them out afterwards, okay?
If I remember.
If I remember, yeah. Let's have a laugh, Amy. Resi 4.
People are going to hear Resi 4 and not be prepared for what I'm about. All the words that are about to come out of my mouth. But we go. Here we go. You ready for the headline, people? Idiots are mad. You can't look up Ashley's skirt in Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is from James Troughton over at The Gamer, who writes, Resident Evil 4 is being built from the ground up again with a new remake. And that means there are plenty of changes. Some are small, like cutting Leon's no thanks bra line, and some are big, like removing QTEs. But one that has upset a certain group of fans is that you can't look up Ashley's skirt anymore. One Facebook user posted in a Resident Evil fan group, quote, "It's censored, possibly downright removed. The thing people wanted the most." It murders an aspect of her character, rendering it essentially non-canon. Why is censorship so prevalent in gaming nowadays? End quote. Yep, in Resident Evil 4, it was canon that Leon Kennedy looked up teenage-coded 20-year-old Ashley's skirt for a peek at her panties just to be called a pervert. Canon, in that it has no impact whatsoever on the story and serves no real purpose other than being a bit creepy and out of character. Definitely a big deal that it's gone. The post continues, quote, "I'm surprised they're even keeping in the gore given the extent that they're willing to go to censor something that the vast majority of players will never even see." End quote. I'm sorry. It goes on, quote, "This is dishonest and suggests a lack of soul and attention to detail on the developer's part. No panties, no pie. Simple as." End quote. They're not alone either, as a blog post in February broke down every shot of Ashley in the remake's trailer to work out if she was wearing a skirt, meaning a skirt/short hybrid. If she is, you can't see up her skirt, which is apparently a deal breaker, and is definitely something worth going through all the effort over. Clearly, it's about more than just a skirt, because the anger boils over to the actor, who they say is giving a, quote, awful, end quote, performance, while also label the changes as, quote, political correctness, end quote.
Comment, Star Command. Star Command, reading. There seems to be no signs of intelligent life anywhere.
Can we just...
Fucking absolute muppets.
Yeah, can we just take a breath and just really appreciate the majesty of that Facebook post, because it's something else. Like, it's been a while since I've seen a post that I've just so thoroughly wanted to break down sentence by sentence, just for the lols.
For the lols. It really is. It's the stupidest thing in general. And it's just one of those things. Jeez, it's like the same freaking thing that happened 2 years ago for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Oh my god, wait, they raised the camera so you can't look at Miranda's ass? Cancel culture at its worst! Oh god!
Censorship,
the whole shebang, they're ruining my video games! All I wanted to do was see a piece of ass! Oh my god, now all I want to do is look up a young girl's skirt. Why is this happening? The censorship, the cancellation of what I want.
No, Moody.
You fucking idiots.
The thing people wanted most. Not the story, the gameplay, the the horror vibes, the atmosphere, the cheesy one-liners. Upskirting. That's the thing, according to this Facebook user, that's the thing people wanted most. That's the thing everybody wanted. That's the thing we all wanted out of Resident Evil 4 Remake.
When they hear, what you buying? I want to see other girls skirt. I was like, what?
Like, what? Yeah, you know, like, I'm having fun, like, fighting off these waves of Ganadas in the middle of the village, like, shooting them and, like, running and parrying the chainsaw guy you could do with a knife now. But what I'm really thinking the entire time I'm doing that is, when do I get to look up Ashley's skirt?
And that's it.
I didn't even know you could do that. In Resi 4 until I read this. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I remember it.
I remember because when you get players are in the original game, like you can crawl like through vents. I don't know, they weren't vents, whatever. You crawl through the passageways, and I know you could do it then because when I was streaming the game years ago and I got to that part, I was very well, I had some things to say about that, let's just say. So I knew that was a thing, but I didn't know you like Leon could do it, and there's a voice line attached to him actually doing it. But wowzers, this post was a trip.
Wowzers indeed. Yeah, and that's sadly what the idiots are like these days. You just think you're censoring shit, but you think you're cancelling, and it's the whole fucking thing. And it's just like, it's a fucking myth. You're a fucking idiot. And the whole fucking thing, it's just like, Jesus, this is what's more important in the game. What's more important? Seriously, you're getting one of the arguably one of the best action horror games that come out. It revived the Resident Evil franchise and led it into a different way that we may not talk about. Some don't talk about, which I can appreciate. But it's a game that it's culturally relevant in the video game industry. But it's not culturally relevant to look in the game so you can look up a fucking young girl's skirt. That's not the culturally relevant part. The rejuvenation of a franchise is the culturally relevant part. You fucking idiots!
like, you know, I watched a video a month or so ago where someone broke down the trailer of Star Trek, one of the season 3 Star Trek Picard trailers, and like, you know, would go through it like scene by scene to figure out, like, see if they could figure out like what's going to happen, like is there anything hidden in the trailer and stuff. But I can't imagine, as it says, as happened according to this news story on this Facebook group, breaking down a trailer scene by scene to try and figure out whether Ashley's wearing a skirt or not. And that apparently is a deal breaker.
It's a deal breaker.
It's a deal breaker.
Deal breaker. Deal breaker.
That's the deal breaker. I'll tell you what it does make me want to do. It does make me want to follow this Facebook group just for any more. Because, you know, everybody needs a laugh now and again.
You do need a laugh sometimes, yeah. You do need a laugh, no doubt about it. You know what is funny though, Amy?
What else is funny?
Loot boxes and losing in court battles and everything.
Ah, yes, court battles. Wait, there's multiple things. Yeah, there we go. I gotta hit a hyperlink and go back. It's fine. Australian court rules that FIFA loot boxes violate gambling laws. This is from James Batchelor over at GamesIndustry.biz, who writes, an Austrian court has ruled that loot boxes in FIFA violate the nation's gambling laws and have demanded that affected players be refunded. German publication Gameswirtschaft reported that the District Court of Hermego had classified FIFA Ultimate Team's card packs as illegal gambling. This is because players' ability to sell cards on a secondary market means it's possible to make a profit, giving the randomized items some level of financial value. The verdict was a result of a 2022 lawsuit between a group of PlayStation-owning FIFA players and Sony Interactive Entertainment Network Europe Limited. The reason the lawsuits were filed against Sony rather than FIFA developer and publisher Electronic Arts is because the loot boxes were purchased through the PlayStation Store, so the users' purchasing contracts are with Sony. Padronis, a law firm that specializes in recovering losses from online casinos, told Games Workstaff that more than 1,000 FIFA users have been in contact with the company with claims of around €800, though some extreme cases go up to €85,000. However, the court ordered Sony to refund payments at €338.26. The verdict is not yet final, as Sony is able to appeal against this decision.
Another battle, another loss for loot boxes. And even though, yes, Sony could appeal this and everything, it's just one of those things, as always, that people keep on harping on about that it isn't, but it is gambling. There's loot boxes are gambling. If it wasn't for the Tory government that we have over here, this probably be blocked over here as well and would be dubbed as gambling. But yeah, Tories are going to Tory.
Hey, the Tories have got more important things to worry about. Like stopping the boats, making slavery legal again. It's like a whole thing with the Tories. Like they've got enough on their plates right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt.
Did I sound sarcastic enough there?
No. Do it again.
Well, the Tories have got enough on their boats right now. On their boats. No, yeah, I just said they had enough on their boats right now.
You did. Yeah. Anyway, we all know what you mean. You all know.
Fuck the Tories.
Yeah, fuck the Tories indeed. But no, yeah, loot boxes are gambling. Hopefully will eventually come back to bite FIFA in the ass, and they will eventually get told to stop doing this. It's eventually going to hit a part where they will, but it's good. It's just how many years it's going to take. That's the bad sign. That's the bad thing about it. For it.
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, I'm a veteran at talking about loot boxes now. By now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So like, I don't know if everything I say is a remix of things I've already said. Like, the reason loot boxes aren't considered gambling in most countries, is purely because of how narrow gambling laws actually are. Like, they have a very narrow definition.
Yeah.
Like, under gambling laws as they exist, loot boxes technically aren't gambling because you're not, like, you can't cash out. Is the loophole, right? Like, I can buy all the loot boxes I want for Overwatch, or I could before Overwatch 2 came out. Rest in peace, Overwatch. But like, I can't cash the skins out in any way, or the sprays or whatever. Like, can't sell them, can't do anything like that with them. The reason people call it, like myself, call it gambling is because it activates the same brain centers as like gambling does. So like, problem gamblers will also have a problem with loot boxes. So it's great to see like a law firm in Austria, I guess, find their own technicality, because there's a secondary market for FIFA Ultimate Team cards, so where you can go on and sell them, so you can cash out, and you love to see it. You love to see it, because I want loot boxes gone.
Yeah, I do think it's going to happen eventually. It's sadly just going to take years for this type of thing to happen.
It's so insidious and so predatory. And I fucking hate it so much. For reasons I've talked about since 2017. Like, Shadow of Mordor and Battlefront 2, really kicked this into high gear. But for me, it's been an issue for me since probably 2012, when Mass Effect 3 had card packs in them. And I've talked about that before on this channel. I need to remake that video at some point.
If only someone was doing a Mass Effect video.
Yeah, but there's no multiplayer in Mass Effect Legendary Edition, so it's not going to be part of it. No, I want to remake my loot box problem video.
Do a brand new updated video.
Do you like it? Just do it again. Yeah, essentially. For the modern day. The modern day Amy. Amy version 2. But yeah, no, like I had a problem with loot boxes in a couple of games.
Yeah, you've said on many occasions, yeah.
And it's not pleasant. I had to eventually. I mean, I had to eventually just like stop opening loot boxes, even the free ones they give you, because that's why they give you free ones. Every time you leveled up in Overwatch, they gave you a loot box, and the reason they did that is because when you opened it, you go, I want to open some more now. Oh, look, there's a button that takes me directly to the store page. I just get a few.
Insidious. It is insidious.
And then you pull the lever, ka-ching, and then all the colors come flying out. And like it's even the design of how they work, where it's like there's that moment of anticipation, and then there's the explosion, and then all the colors come out, flying out. There's fireworks going off in the background. It's like I don't know how people can't argue. I don't know how I don't know how people can't argue that they're like the way they're even designed is predatory. Like blows my mind that people will be like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. Trust me.
Because the wording says it isn't.
Yeah, because technically,
I could slap you. I choose not to. Doesn't mean I'm not. Well,
doesn't mean I couldn't.
Yeah. It is a shame, but hopefully, like one day, we will eventually report loot boxes are banned.
Yeah, no more loot boxes, and on that day, Amy will be free.
And I will pop a bottle of champagne.
The saga is over. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned, and now somehow we have to figure out how they're going to figure out making this canon. Poor Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Let's go. Na 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 na. Hey.
I know exactly what he's talking about. I think we hang out too much. Square Enix CEO Yosuke Matsuda set to be replaced. This is from Leah James Williams over at Games Hub. He writes, current Square Enix CEO Yosuke Matsuda is reportedly set to depart the company, pending shareholder approval in June 2023, after a tumultuous year and several perceived failures for high-profile releases. Should this approval go ahead, Matsuda will be replaced by Takashi Kiryu, who has been at Square Enix for several years and was once previously general manager at Dentsu Innovation Initiative, a company known for its work in the metaverse. The reasons for Matsuda's departure were not detailed by Square Enix in its initial announcement, although there is some speculation that his role in pursuing NFTs and blockchain technologies, and his role in overseeing disappointing failures like Marvel's Avengers, is contributing to his shakeup. In late 2021, Matsuda admitted Square Enix had a lot to learn from the disappointment of Marvel's Avengers, one of the company's first forays into live service games that suffered from a challenging marketing campaign, launched to middling reviews, and garnered a generally negative sentiment overall. Enthusiasts had expected a stronger game given the pedigree of its developer Crystal Dynamics and the strength of the property. Following this release, Matsuda began enthusing about a different kind of gaming experience, one led by blockchain technology. In early 2022, Matsuda claimed play-to-earn gaming was the future of the industry. In an open letter enthusing about the future of Square Enix, he claimed, quote, traditional gaming has offered no explicit incentive, quote, to people who create content for games, and that a play-to-earn revolution could allow people to contribute to their favorite games while earning money for their efforts. Later, he doubled down on this stance, claiming blockchain technology could reward players who engaged with play-to-earn mechanics. Then in mid-2022, Square Enix announced plans to create story-based NFTs, which would overtly monetize gameplay and rely on players purchasing goods on the blockchain to survive. Symbiogenesis was the first NFT project to be announced and was described as a digital collectible art project designed from the ground up for the Web3 fans. The true nature of Symbiogenesis is yet to be revealed. While Matsuda continued to enthuse about these NFTs and blockchain projects, Square Enix was going through an inner crisis with the poor performance of Marvel's Avengers and the even poorer performance of games like Babylon's Fall, contributing to major losses. In early 2022, Square Enix decided to sell off its Western game studios, Square Enix Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and Eidos, with these companies being snapped up by Embracer Group. Despite this divestiture, Square Enix later announced plans to establish new studios. It's been a rough few years for the company, filled with extreme highs and lows. While Matsuda was not directly responsible for every misstep along the way, his enthusiasm for NFTs and the blockchain certainly contributed to a rise in negative sentiment towards the company, which has also been compounded by years of baffling decisions. After 10 years at the company, Yosuke Matsuda now appears to be on his way out of Square Enix. Square Enix said of the change, quote, "Under the rapid change of business environment surrounding the entertainment industry, the proposed change is intended to reshape the management team with the goal of adopting ever-evolving technological innovations and maximizing on the creativity of the company's group in order to deliver even greater entertainment to its customers around the world," end quote. Takashi Kiryu has been chosen as Matsuda's potential successor to imbue the company with renewed vigor. While his past experience developing within the metaverse will likely mean Square Enix's vision of the future may remain the same, a fresh set of eyes will likely contribute to much-needed change at the company. We'll hear more about the shift when shareholders vote on Matsuda's replacement in June 2023.
Well, this was not a surprise whatsoever that they would eventually decide to replace him with someone else. I'll get onto the other person shortly. But no, yeah, he has ran Square Enix into the goddamn ground. He has literally ripped it apart, and just, I remember when we talked about that fucking deal last year. It was the most stupidest thing ever, and he's doubled down and doubled down. He's tripled, quadrupled down on everything, every stance he wants to stand on, and everything, and it's just not worked. Marvel Avengers, one of the biggest failures in gaming history. There's many other ones, but like this is a massive failure. Babylon's Fall, I think that's just got its final update, literally saying no more updates, basically, or
That's
end
done,
of service. Yeah. And it's just like doing all of this, and it's just completely just shattered a once great company that put out great game after great game after great game after great game. Like we've just talked about when we were talking about the JRPG story at the beginning of the thing. Like some of the RPGs, some of the best RPGs came from Square Enix, for God's sakes. And like Final Fantasy 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They had like banger after banger after banger after banger when it came to Final Fantasy. And they also released Chrono Trigger and many more. Like they got they do the Dragon Quest games as well. Yeah. Like how could they they've got such a great thing, and his ambition for NFTs and blockchain projects completely ruined this thing. So I'm glad to see him gone and everything. Now let's get on to this next guy. The next person who seems like he's going to be replacing him. Yes, it does seem like he's a person who is obviously he knows about the metaverse and he has experience about the metaverse and everything. My hope and prayer will be, I know it's not going to go that way, but I'm still going to say it. My hope and prayer will be it's just like double down on your developers, giving them the stuff they need to throw out amazing games for people. For your audience and everything. You've got hopefully potentially one of the biggest games coming out later this year in Final Fantasy 16, along with Final Fantasy 7 Part 2, which I think will go till next year personally still. But it's like it showed that you've thrown out games sometimes too early and they needed more time. And I think one of them people would have been pushing for that would have been the still CEO right now, but soon to be former CEO. I hope this new guy Takeshi will go away from the bloody blockchain NFT bollocks and just focus on what's important, and that is the video games and the developers and making sure they're able to put out the best product. Like you literally just recently reviewed Forspoken, and there was parts that you enjoyed, but at the same time, it was just an absolute boring, empty game to you, if I remember rightly what you said.
Yes.
So we want to be excited for games like what, and it's just a shame to hear. It's a shame to hear that the sort of once great studio has fallen in such a bad stature. But I do hope for the best. I'm praying. I know it's God. I know they brought in a guy who knows about the metaverse. That's their priority, sadly. But hopefully,
I don't know why. I don't know why that's their priority. Like, it was Square Enix, right, that literally said in their last financial earnings that their single player games, their HD games division, that as they call it the HD games division. It's the single player games would have been profitable had it not been for all of the other stupid shit that they'd done, like all of the live service games that they released and then tanked, like the NFT nonsense, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so now I'm not a CEO of a company, but if I was, and someone told me that, like those two facts, right? Hey, we've been doing this NFT stuff and this metaverse stuff and all these live service games. And I'd be like, yeah, that's been our strategy for the last few years to make money. And then this person went, yeah, so here are single player games like Final Fantasy and Octopath Traveler and all of the many other single player games that they release would have actually made us profitable had it not been for the losses we took over here. I probably would go, let's rethink our strategy here.
Yeah.
Let's make more of these profitable games.
Yeah.
And less of these games that keep costing us money.
Yeah. See what's working. Push more into that. See what isn't working. Bin it as fast as you can.
Like there's
burn it.
there's the things that work for Square Enix and the things that aren't working, and like maybe if I was in charge, I'd just focus more on the things that are working, right? Than necessarily the things that aren't. Like, it's wild to me that like they're replacing Matsuda. That's not wild to me. Eventually, they were going to have to replace him. Like Square Enix has been, and like they still release quality games. But they've been on a nosedive for a few years now. I think we've noted it on this podcast for the last few years.
Guardians of the Galaxy just didn't hit the sales they wanted. Obviously, I think they probably would have put the sales too high to them, for us probably. But also that's a game that we've said on many occasions that probably needed a little bit more time to get bugs out and everything like that, because we stopped playing them because of the bugs, which we don't want.
We both did. So. That's true. And yeah, like I don't know. Like what worries me is like the new guy's coming in and he's like, oh, well, he's the guy who knows the metaverse. And it's like, do you know how much money Facebook has lost? Chasing the metaverse.
You're not a multi-billion-dollar company. You're a billion-dollar company, but you're in the small end of the billions compared to what Facebook is.
Facebook has lost tens of billions of dollars chasing the metaverse. In fact, I don't think they're gonna be pursuing it much longer, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I think they're just gonna quietly just stop. If only because they literally have lost it's like $38 billion or something. Don't quote me on that. That's a half-remembered stat. But yeah, it's like, and if Square Enix wants to chase this stuff, good luck to them. They're gonna fucking need it. Like, if they didn't have Final Fantasy 14 and some of their big hitters, like the Final Fantasy games, like, they'd be in some real trouble.
Yeah, they would be. No doubt about it.
Don't make an NFT game. Don't make an NFT game, Square Enix. It's not worth it. Like, see, Dr. Disrespect was like talking about his new game, which is going to be an NFT game. It's going to be an NFT game. It's like a Escape from Tarkov type game where it's like a first-person shooter where you go in and you grab like your stuff and then you've got to extract. They call them extraction shooters. And like Dr. Disrespect was like, just imagine if that thing that you grabbed was worth $100,000 on the blockchain. Like how thrilling that would be for people watching and people playing. And people were quite rightly saying, why is it? Who decides that it's worth $100,000? Like who decides that? And the answer is, it's not worth $100,000. For it to be worth $100,000 means someone would have to buy it for $100,000. Like. And no one's going to buy it. No one's going to buy a digital collectible, as they've started calling them now, for $100,000.
Fucking idiot! Just like Jake Paul is as well.
Oh, he wasn't. He was like, everybody. No one gets it. No one gets it. Like all the critics are just haters, and no one gets it. And Square Enix is exactly the same. They've been chasing this rabbit for more than a year at this point, and. At the moment, they're still chasing the rabbit. Symbiogenesis, an NFT story game, where it's like the pieces of the story are NFTs, and you buy them, and then you've got a piece of the story, and you can choose whether to share that piece of the story or not. And it's like, that's not a game. That's a book where you've torn every single page of the book out of it, scattered them to the wind.
Hey, didn't we play that book game?
Probably played it loads of times.
Yeah, it was a game. It was about you had to click book pages. Can't remember what it's called now. It's a good game. I remember it.
I mean that, yeah, sure, but it was like I'm gonna.
Not an NFT game.
I'm gonna take no. I'm gonna take every single one page out of this book and I'm gonna mail it to 1,000 random people. Good luck, fuckers.
Idiots.
And then when that tanks spectacularly, which it will, we'll see what they do next. The company that made Final Fantasy VII, a game where you play as a group of eco-terrorists fighting to save the planet from a corporation intent on destroying it.
The irony
is now all in on NFTs.
Yeah, fucking irony on that is brilliant. No doubt about that. But let's speak about another CEO who should be fired as well and removed because their reorganization apparently.
May we? That's the wrong. Do you get why I did that? Do you get why that one?
Yes, I get
because it's French.
I heard that.
Mais oui. Ubisoft is reportedly working on strategic organisation in Europe. This is from Leah J. Williams over at Games Hub, who writes, Ubisoft is reportedly on the cusp of closing select offices in Europe as part of an overall strategic reorganisation of the company's major subsidiaries. While an official announcement has not been made, a report on Reset Era has seemingly revealed an internal email indicating Ubisoft Benelux, that's definitely not how you pronounce it, is to close on the 1st of April 2023. As many will know, this date aligns with April Fool's Day, when false news announcements are rampant, but subsequent comments from Ubisoft imply truth to the report. Ubisoft have reportedly told staff in a leaked email, quote, at this time, Ubisoft is facing several challenges due to external factors, such as the decline in sales volume of physical games in favor of digital sales, the centralization of marketing by digitizing all our communication channels, the shift from major retailer releases to free-to-play, mobile, and seasonal games, and less major physical shows. Put a pin in that. We're going to come back to every sentence of that and turn the volume down when we do. To meet the challenges of the future, Ubisoft's management has decided to close a number of subsidiaries in Europe. Thank you, Moody. Unfortunately, the Ubisoft Benelux entity is subject to the intended closure, with most employees departing as of April 1st, 2023. Due to the closure, Ubisoft BV will fully outsource the current distribution of physical games in the Benelux to a distributor to be announced at a later stage. End quote. When asked about the content of this letter, Ubisoft did not refute the legitimacy of the claims, instead telling NME, quote, Ubisoft's publishing group is working on a strategic reorganization of its European business subsidiaries. This process is ongoing and we don't have any more detail to share at this stage, end quote. No further details were provided, although it's likely we'll learn more in the coming weeks. As the global economy continues to fluctuate thanks to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic and Russia's war against Ukraine, many game companies around the world are now reckoning with knock-on financial consequences. Ubisoft reported as much in early 2023, with its latest financial reports indicating economic circumstances have contributed to a wave of relative failures in recent months. The word relative there is doing some lifting. Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope, and Just Dance 2023 both fell significantly short of company sales goals, and the overall downturn has led to the cancellation of 7 major Ubisoft projects. Ubisoft CEO Yves Gilmour said of the developments, quote, we are clearly disappointed by our recent performance. We are facing contrasted market dynamics as the industry continues to shift towards mega brands and everlasting live games. Put a pin in that as well. In the context of worsening economic conditions affecting consumer spending, end quote. Business closures are likely a response to these conditions as Ubisoft attempts to claw back recent losses and refocus its ambitions. So far, the strategic reorganization of the company's subsidiaries is being kept under wraps, but given the process is ongoing, we can expect more official news shortly. Whatever the case, it does appear the company is now reckoning with a need for major change. Yes, it is.
Major
Not the kind of
change
change
indeed.
that he's thinking of.
Yep. So I saw this from SkillUp's video. I'll say that right now.
Okay.
It's just for a thing. So this is why I put it in the thing and everything, which was because I thought it was really funny. So the thing is here, like what you've just read here. So he's like, he also read. I don't think I give the proper article, and I should have done that as well. So apparently, the strategy is also said that they wouldn't be firing anybody, no redundancies or anything like that, or closures. Then they instantly contradict themselves by saying, not SkillUp, I mean Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yeah.
Contradict themselves saying, we're closing this studio and we're firing everyone on the 1st of April, basically. And it's just like,
well,
huh.
If we're being
No,
charitable...
but they have come out and said they're not going to make any redundancies or anything like that. So they instantly go against what they've literally just contradicted themselves instantly with that type of thing.
If I'm being charitable to the reading of the sentence, Ubisoft BV is subject to closure with most employees departing as of April 1st, 2023. Now, that could mean that most employees are just departing BV and going somewhere else. It could just be a mangled sentence.
Maybe.
Ubisoft have a habit of saying ridiculous things in statements.
Yeah. I'm only going to go.
Not to contradict what you're saying there. It's just
yeah.
There's a way to read it. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But yeah, no. Ubisoft, just like Square Enix, have been in decline for a few years here, and like, in the back, like we've said on multiple occasions of like we've reported on multiple occasions of the shit that has gone on behind the scenes and everything at the Ubisoft and whatnot. But now I'm just starting to wonder, I was thinking,
it's been 3 years.
In the audience, has the audience actually listened without really saying anything? Because like the sales have been dipping like crazy. They've reported on many occasions their sales have dipped like crazy for this, and I'm a little bit curious about like that type of thing. I might be overthinking it. I probably am overthinking it, like I always do with certain things. But like sales have massively fallen below quote unquote the projections, and as always it'll just be like the studio, you probably said the projections is too high as always because you're fucking idiots. But on top of that, it's just like, go on.
No, I was gonna say, like, I don't know, like Ubisoft had two big games were Mario and Rabbids and Just Dance. And they set their expectations too high for those games.
Probably, yeah. But
in my opinion.
But I'm just a little bit curious for that. But it's also that, like,
what if they
I remember the last games I played for Ubisoft was Watch Dogs 3 and Assassin's Creed, the British one. That's Valhalla, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember.
The one I liked.
You reviewed both of those games.
Yeah, the one I liked was Odyssey. They were poor games. Valhalla sold incredibly well. I remember when we talked about it, that it sold incredibly well and everything like that. But it's like, they were just poor games. And I think it's finally maybe catching up onto them, that they just rinse and repeat, throwing out the same game over and over and over again. Like, everyone's complaining, like, for Far Cry is the same game as the third one was. And even though the third one is all hailed and everything like that, I love Far Cry 3. A lot of people who I spoke to love Far Cry 3, but you can't, when the fourth one is based in the same game, the fifth one is based in the same game, the sixth one is basically the same goddamn game, it just gets completely repetitive and it just gets boring. It's like the same thing what you talked about when it came to Forspoken. It's just the repetitiveness of certain things in open worlds are getting really, really boring. So like when they announced, when it was leaked by that idiot, what we talked about months ago, when it was announced that they're going back to quote unquote they're taking Assassin's Creed back to its origins, like parkour and all like that, like a 20-hour linear game. Like, I can see why people were obviously going, yay. Still waiting to see when that's coming out to Ubisoft. Just so you know, I don't think that's coming out until later this year. You said first half of this year. You haven't spoken about it for a while either. Murd. What? Sorry?
I thought you meant me. I was like, did
Did I say Amy or did I say
No,
Ubisoft?
you said you, but I was like, I'm half paying attention because I'm just reading something else.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Do you want to know what
Go on.
Ubisoft's major problem is? Apart from the quality of its games dipping, which Ubisoft itself knows, and I know they know because they talked about it years ago. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was around about 2020, right about the same time as all of the allegations about workplace abuse popped up, which, by the way, still a thing.
Still a thing, yeah.
And
that no one talks about or reports.
And like because they had, do you remember, they were reorganizing their leadership structure. People were being put in charge to make sure that like they were releasing games that were going to be like different and new and innovative. And we did a whole thing on it on the podcast, and that never happened. Like the reorganization happened, but the games didn't follow on from that. So since 2021, Ubisoft have released Far Cry 6, which released in October of 2021. I'm not going to go through every single game, like because there's like Discovery Tour, Viking Age. It's Assassin's Creed Valhalla Discovery Tour mod. They released Riders Republic, Just Dance 2022, Monopoly Madness, Clash of Beasts, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. Then they re-released the Ezio collection on Nintendo Switch. Trivial Pursuit Live 2, Roller Champions. Then they released Assassin's Creed Origins on current generation consoles. Roller Champions, Rocksmith Plus, whatever that is, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope Just Dance 2022, and then Valiant Hearts came out this year. A new Valiant Hearts came out this year. Did you know that?
Wait, what?
Exactly. I didn't know that. They kept that fucking quiet.
This year?
Valiant Hearts Coming Home released January 31st, 2023 on Android and iOS.
No, no wonder.
That's all they've released in the last few years. Since 2020, when they released Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, and Immortal Phoenix Rising.
Yeah, that was like that end of that year was a really big year for them overall when it came to their games and whatnot. Yeah.
So like you've identified all of these problems that you think are the problems as to why you're like losing money, but the fact that not only are you not making high quality games or like games that are perceived to be high quality, you're not making any fucking games. Like if you haven't released anything in the last couple of years and you've just cancelled 7 projects that are in development. Yeah. What the hell are you bringing to E3 this year? Because apparently it's going to be huge.
They're going to be there, yeah. So, like I'd say, Skull and Bones been delayed indefinitely.
Yeah.
We're not hearing a single thing right now about the Assassin's Creed games that they said they were meant to be coming out this year. Mirage was meant to come out in the first half of this year. Now, I'm technically they could drop that like at E3 if they wanted to, say, hey, it releases now or something if they wanted to, do a big splash, because that would technically still be the first half because it's half of the year.
Yeah, because it ends in June. The games that they have on the slate for 2023 are apparently Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, The Crew, Mortarfest, Mighty Quest 2, Rocksmith Plus on mobile, Skull and Bones, and Trackmania. When are they making a Prince of Persia game?
An update, they're remastering it.
Yeah, it was years ago. And it kept getting delayed, I remember. Because he looked weird in the cutscene, I remember. The Prince of Persia looked so weird. I remember that being a thing.
It's the whole thing. Yeah, like, that's to be frank. We all know it's completely disgusting management, basically. They need a complete, like we've said on multiple occasions, they need the whole... they need a new CEO, new freaking management team, get the bastards out, the rotten bastards out, and start afresh. Then that's not going to happen. We know this, but that's the only way it's going to sort this out. Because, like, I don't know, man. But we'll see. We'll see. But I just think it's really, really funny. Like, how let's just slide into the other Ubisoft story as well.
We haven't got much time, so I might not read the full story.
Just say the tag. We know what it's about.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 studio reportedly under investigation for unprecedented burnout and sick leave. Actually, I will read some of this. This is from Matt Wales over at YouGamer, who writes, Ubisoft Montpellier, the studio behind the extremely long in development Beyond Good and Evil 2, is reportedly facing upheaval as it grapples with labour investigations into unprecedented levels of employee stress and sickness and the departure of its managing director. And then there's more detail if you want to find it. Obviously, just search Beyond Good and Evil 2 on Google. But, I mean, essentially, the top line is, like, 3 years this summer since the Ubisoft workplace
Grand
abuse
reveal.
and harassment and everything that we've covered for the last few years. And no, it's been even longer since the grand reveal of Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were leading to. That's
No.
I misinterpreted that.
Because now we've got a game that's gone MIA. That's not shocking. It's being developed by a Ubisoft studio. All of their games have gone MIA at this point. And we have a studio who is now being investigated for unprecedented levels of employee stress and sickness. And another managing director that's departed. The last managing director departed in 2020.
Yeah. So this game is going to get a new managing director who's going to have a different vision for this game, and it's going to start all over again to see where it goes and everything. So the Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's like, that's gone. We don't know when that's going to happen, if it ever actually does happen. And for God's sakes, forget this. Let's just do. At the end of the day, this story here, it's not even about the fucking game. It is about the fucking staff. It is about the disgusting mismanagement of not just the Ubisoft Montpellier, and the bloody Ubisoft as itself that has allowed unprecedented burnout and that has burnt the team out so much that the staff are on sick so much because they're just burnt out. They're mentally probably exhausted, physically exhausted, mentally just all over the place, and people wonder, where's this game and everything like that. Just fuck off about the game. The people need, the developers, the team need freaking looking after, and they are not getting looked after. So literally, this just shows that the house isn't running well there. So you can only imagine how it is in Newcastle Reflections and all the other studios that they have as well. The whole place is just falling apart right now, and the bloody the idiot CEO is just like, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. I'm not an idiot or whatsoever. I know what to do.
Get out, apparently.
Get out. That's what we want you to do.
Yeah, we can talk all day long about Ubisoft. The only reorganization and restructure that Ubisoft needs to do is it needs a new management team. It needs to actually sit down and it needs to actually tackle the problems that are in their workplaces, like the toxic workplaces, the abuse, the harassment, the stress, the burnout, the sickness, which is being caused by the stress and the burnout and the overworking that we've known about, publicly known about for 2.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I don't give a shit about Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Assassin's Creed, Mirage, and all the other games that they're working on. I give a shit about that. And I just, please.
And people wonder why there's no games right now from Ubisoft. It's because the teams are completely burnt out. The teams are completely sick of the bullshit. Every single time that the CEO and his fucking team come up with saying, "Oh, we're fine, we're reorganizing this. We're just going to move this abuser over to this team so he can abuse that team as well, and we're not going to say anything. Nothing to see here whatsoever." And it's just a load of fucking bollocks. Ubisoft used to be one of the pinnacle, one of the mainstays out there for games. They threw out some amazing games. I remember playing Far Cry 3. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the Ezio franchise, the Ezio period of the Assassin's Creed and everything. And we've just been complete bollocks after bollocks after bollocks. So no wonder the Avatar game got delayed and everything like that. For me, like I've told you already, Ubisoft, if you really want that thing to succeed, you hold that till fucking Avatar 3. If you want to,
hold that game for the next 15 years.
Because that's how long James Cameron it's going to take. He's a nut job, James Cameron. I love him, but he's a fucking nut job. And then he'll release Avatar 3. It'll be worldwide, $3 billion movie. And Joe Medford will cry because Sonic 5 will be shit still, just like Sonic 2, 3, and 4 will be.
No. We're done. That era of this podcast is over. Stop it.
Don't cancel me, Amy. Let me talk.
I'm cancelling you in favor of OpenCritic head-to-head. This is the game we play most weeks where we try to guess the OpenCritic average of upcoming games. Whoever guesses closest to the score gets a point, and if you manage to guess the score correctly at the time of recording, you get 2 points. Last week we didn't do one because there wasn't that many big games coming out. This week, though,
There was nothing.
There was a few indie games that came out, but this week we're going to guess the OpenCritic average of Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. This is the weird Bayonetta spin-off that got announced out of nowhere a few months ago. And everyone went, what the fuck?
What is this? Yeah. I don't know where this is going to land. But
I know, right? This is probably the biggest wild card we've had so far in OpenCritic head-to-head this year. It's like, I don't know where the fuck this is going to end up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got a free demo, and I can't that got released yesterday, and I kind of wish I'd played it in preparation for the podcast, just to have some inkling of what the game is. But I didn't. I don't. I played Cognition method instead. Can you imagine? Indie game of the week is Bayonetta. Technically, it's an indie game, I think. But no, I don't know. I don't know where this goes. I'm gonna go. See, I can't go middle of the road, because if I go middle of the road, you'll just box me in on one side or the other, and I'll probably lose. I'm gonna go 76. That's the wrong place to put that.
I haven't got 2 X's there anyway.
To put when the score drops, that's where I put the actual result.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because it's 2 numbers, isn't it? 76.
This could go anywhere. This really, really could go anywhere.
This could be amazing. This could be game of the year contender.
Yeah, it really could. It really could.
Yeah. It's not even an action game. That's the thing. That's the thing that's probably like, in terms of thinking about where this is going to land for OpenCritic, it's not even like a traditional Bayonetta game. It's a completely different genre from Bayonetta. So you can't even really draw on like past Bayonetta games to figure out like what this game is going to be.
Yeah, no doubt.
Which is kind of cool. They've never made a game like this. That's cool.
True. 78.
Well.
It's gonna be 77, isn't it?
Yeah. At least when I went second, I always made sure there were no draws.
All right, 77. Then.
Just keep it 78. It's fine. I don't mind. Keep it wherever you want. Roll a dice if you want. Trust me. Always fun. Always fun when you do that.
No. I'm good.
It's going to be a piece.
Roll dice for a while, Keith.
That's going to be a legendary piece of words about games law. So what did on OpenCritic head-to-head when Marvel's Avengers came up? What did Amy say that Marvel Avengers was going to get on OpenCritic? 97. Greatest game ever. Apparently.
When it first dropped, it was in the 90s.
It was up there. We could do a podcast topic.
Of it dropped.
We could do a podcast topic about why that happens. About how PR and marketing works. But I think I'd burn too many bridges behind me as I walked across them if we did that podcast topic.
Probably.
So I'll leave it there and instead say, thanks very much for watching episode 342 of the Words About Games podcast. I'm going to settle in and play a few hours of Octopath Traveler 2 before Star Trek Picard drops at midnight. It's going to be a great night. Moody, do you have any final thoughts for this week's podcast?
The weekend is here, ladies and gentlemen, so let's all kick back and relax, watch some awesome TV, or go out and enjoy yourself with your partners or your family, and just have a great weekend. We all deserve it, and as always, just be awesome, and fuck the Tories, and cancel culture is a myth. Peace!